The first pillar is health, for what good is wealth if the body crumbles beneath the weight of neglect? What good is a house full of gold if sickness robs you of the strength to rise from your bed? At 60 and beyond, health is no longer something you can afford to ignore. It becomes the foundation upon which every dream, every plan, every joy must stand. Without health, even the simplest pleasures turn into burdens, and the sweetest hopes fade into the shadows of pain. Health is not built in a day. It is the sum of every choice you have made and every habit you continue to keep. It is the food you put on your plate, the water you drink, the rest you allow yourself, and the movement you give to your body. Every step you take, every breath you draw, every moment of discipline you practice is an investment in the life you wish to live. Guard your body as a soldier guards the last fortress on a battlefield. Watch the whispers of laziness that tell you you have earned your rest, because true rest does not come from lying idle. It comes from a body that moves with strength and a heart that beats with vigor. Let your plate be colorful with nature's gifts, not heavy with the weight of processed poison. Drink water as though it were a sacred stream, for it cleanses and renews. Breathe deeply, for oxygen is the first and last gift of life. Seek the counsel of those who understand the temple of the body, doctors, nutritionists, healers, because ignorance in matters of health is a debt that the body will one day demand to be paid in full. And let not vanity fool you into thinking that appearance is health. A true wellness is silent strength, invisible to the eye, but felt in the energy that flows through your veins. Move your body as though it were a song, dance, stretch, walk, lift, breathe, because motion is medicine and stagnation is decay. Do not say it is too late, for as long as breath remains, the body can be renewed. Turn away from habits that harm you, for every cigarette smoked, every excess consumed, every careless indulgence is a thief stealing days from your future. Treat health as the sacred foundation of your being, for without it, every other pillar trembles and falls, and the life you dreamed of becomes a distant memory instead of a living reality. The second pillar is financial independence. Let us speak with honesty. Love cannot pay your bills, and affection cannot purchase the medicine that your body may one day need. When the years have added their weight upon your shoulders and the vigor of youth is faded into the gentle steps of age, the strength of your hands will no longer command the same wages it once did. The hours of labor that once filled your life with abundance will no longer be available to you, and in that season it will not be promises or pity that sustain you. It will be the wisdom of preparation, the foresight of planning, and the discipline of saving. Financial independence is not a matter of luxury, it is a matter of dignity. It is the shield that guards your freedom when the storms of uncertainty begin to gather. It is the bridge that carries you across the waters of sickness, the unexpected emergencies, and the silent needs that come with age. Without it, the years of peace you dreamed of can turn into years of pleading, waiting, and dependence on the mercy of others. Build this pillar while your hands are strong and your mind is sharp, for it cannot be built in the dusk of life. Lay the foundation with the bricks of saving and strengthen it with the steel of investment. Let each coin you set aside be a seed planted in the soil of tomorrow, for the harvest will surely come. And when it does, you will thank the wisdom of your youth. Refuse the temptation to spend every dollar today as though tomorrow will never arrive, for tomorrow always comes, and it asks a price from those who are unprepared. Learn the language of money as you would learn the language of survival. Understand that money, when used with wisdom, is not a master but a servant that works when you sleep, that earns when you rest, that multiplies when others squander. Do not fear the tools of wealth, learn them. Let your money flow into rivers that bring life, not into holes that swallow without return. And let no one deceive you into thinking that dependence on family is security, for even the most loving hearts have their own storms to weather, their own burdens to carry, their own dreams to chase. Your children may care for you, but they cannot always carry you without stumbling under the weight of their own responsibilities. Therefore, build a life that can stand without leaning, a future that does not tremble when others step away. Seek wisdom in the seasons of abundance, for that is when the roots of security must grow deep. Guard your earnings from waste, protect your savings from recklessness, and let your eyes always look beyond the present hour to the years that wait ahead. For financial independence is not about riches, it is about the quiet confidence of knowing that whatever storms may come, you have built a shelter strong enough to keep you safe, a refuge no wind can tear down, a foundation no tide can wash away. The third pillar is a strong mind. The body may bow to the weight of years, the hair may turn to silver, and the hands may tremble, but the mind must stand tall like an unyielding tower against the storms of time. A strong mind is the invisible crown that no age can take away, the fortress that shields you when the world grows silent and the echoes of loneliness begin to whisper. It is the one weapon that never dulls unless you let it rust, the light that brightens even the darkest corridors of life. To keep the mind strong is not a passive act. It is a deliberate pursuit. Feed it as you would feed the body, for a starving mind becomes fragile long before the flesh does. Nourish it with books that expand your vision, with words that challenge your thinking, with ideas that spark the fire of curiosity within you. Let your thoughts soar into new territories of knowledge, for learning is the breath of the mind, and without it, the mind suffocates. Do not allow idleness to creep into the chambers of your thoughts, for an idle mind is the breeding ground of decay. Instead, exercise your intellect as you would your muscles. Solve puzzles that make you think. Write reflections that give life to your experiences. Engage in conversations that awaken the sleeping corners of your imagination. Let every day bring you something new to discover, something fresh to understand, something bold to explore, for the mind grows not by chance but by challenge. Remember that the strength of the mind is not measured by memory alone, but by resilience, the ability to rise above fear, to withstand despair, to embrace hope when shadows fall. It is the mind that whispers courage when the world grows quiet, that says a stand when life tries to push you down, that holds the map of purpose when every other guide disappears. Protect your mind from the poisons that weaken it, fear, bitterness, regret, and negativity. They are the termites that eat away at the beams of your mental strength, leaving you hollow and broken inside. Instead, plant seeds of gratitude, hope, and possibility. Let your thoughts dwell on what builds you, not what breaks you. Keep learning, not because you must, but because knowledge is life. Master a skill you never had, read about places you've never seen, explore subjects you once feared. And let curiosity become your lifelong companion, for when curiosity walks beside you, age cannot catch you. And when the body grows weary and the steps grow slow, let the mind become the river that never stops flowing, the fire that never stops burning, the sky that never stops opening to new horizons. For in the strength of the mind lies the endless youth of the spirit. The fourth pillar is friendship, is a treasure beyond price, a bond forged not by blood but by choice, a connection that carries the weight of years with grace and loyalty. At 60, when the noise of life begins to fade, when the crowds that once surrounded you have scattered to their own corners of the world, it is friendship that remains as a melody echoing in the silence. It is the voice that answers when loneliness knocks, the hand that reaches out when the road feels empty, the laughter that breaks through the heaviness of passing time. True friends are not counted by the dozens, but by the ones who walk with you through the winters of life, through the storms that strip away pretense and reveal the soul in its rawest truth. They are not there only for the celebrations, but for the quiet nights when tears come without warning, for the days when strength falters and you need a reminder that you are not alone. Such friendships do not happen by accident. They are built through years of trust, through shared joys and shared sorrows, through the small acts of loyalty that speak louder than grand declaration. Cherish those bonds as you would guard a sacred flame, for friendships are like fires. They must be tended, fed, and protected from the winds of neglect. Give time to those who matter, for time is the currency of love, and friendship starves without it. Speak words that heal and uplift. Listen with patience when the heart of another longs to pour out its burdens, and be present when presence is the greatest gift you can give. Do not seek friends who simply agree with you, for agreement is easy. Seek those who challenge you to grow, who remind you of your worth when doubt creeps in, who hold a mirror to your soul and help you see not only who you are, but who you can still become. Surround yourself with people whose laughter warms you, whose wisdom strengthens you, whose honesty anchors you. For these are the friends who turn ordinary days into sacred memories and understand that friendship is not built on convenience, it is built on commitment. It is a covenant of hearts that says, I am here. Not only when the sun shines, but when the storm clouds gather. Not only when the world applauds, but when the world turns away. It is in these moments that the true measure of friendship is revealed. Not in the gifts exchanged, but in the shoulders offered. Not in the promises spoken, but in the presence kept. As the years advance and as the faces around you change, hold fast to those rare souls who have walked with you through the valleys and climbed with you to the peaks. For they are the keepers of your stories, the witnesses to your struggles, the guardians of your laughter, and the companions of your journey through the twilight of life, carrying with them pieces of your heart and leaving behind pieces of theirs in return. The fifth pillar is faith when the world grows still and the sounds of life fade into soft echoes. Faith becomes the anchor that holds the soul steady in the deep waters of time. It is the unseen strength that lifts you when your own strength can no longer rise, the light that glimmers when the darkness of uncertainty surrounds you, the voice that whispers hope when fear and doubt speak loud. Faith is the quiet certainty that even when the body weakens, the spirit remains strong. Even when the road ahead seems short, the journey of the soul continues beyond the horizon. Faith is not a gift received once. It is a flame that must be fed, guarded, and kept alive against the winds of despair. It begins as a spark in the heart and grows into a fire that warms you when the nights of life grow cold. It is built not in the easy days, but in the storms, when questions rise and answers seem far away, when pain tries to break your resolve, and yet you choose to believe in something greater than what your eyes can. At 60, when the world has shown you both its beauty and its scars, when you have tasted victories and endured losses, faith becomes more than belief. It becomes a companion, a strength, a refuge that the years cannot take away. It teaches you that life is not merely the measure of days counted on a calendar, but a deeper purpose written in eternity. It whispers that every breath still holds meaning, that every sunrise carries grace, that every moment is a gift not to be squandered. Faith calls you to rise above the limitations of the visible and trust in the unseen, to look beyond what has ended and believe in what still waits to begin. It reminds you that there is a reason for every step, even the ones that seem to lead through valleys of shadow, even the ones where tears watered the soil of your soul. It teaches you to trust that what you have walked through was not in vain, that the threads of your life, though tangled to your eyes, are woven into a pattern of purpose by hands greater than yours. And faith is not silent. It speaks through gratitude when bitterness tempts you, through peace when storms rage within, through joy that springs forth even when circumstances say you should despair. It is the inner song that no age can silence, the prayer that rises even when lips cannot form the words, the hope that shines even when the candle of strength burns low. It teaches you to bow in humility, yet stand in courage, to surrender what you cannot control, yet hold firmly to what you know is eternal. Keep your faith as you keep your breath, for it is the life of the soul, the light of the path, the promise that even in the closing chapters, the story is far from over. And the journey stretches into a horizon where no night falls and no shadow lingers. Time is your greatest currency of all the treasures life can offer. None is more precious than time. Time once spent is gone forever. It is the one currency that no man can borrow, no woman can steal, and no power can return. At 60, you begin to understand the weight of this truth in ways that youth could never grasp. The clock no longer feels infinite. The days no longer stretch without end. Every sunrise is a gift wrapped in urgency, and every hour becomes a jewel that must not be squandered. Time is not measured only by the ticking of a clock. It is measured by what you do with the breath between those ticks. It is the moments you spend in laughter, the hours you give to purpose, the seconds you invest in love. Each choice you make is an exchange. You trade time for something you believe is worth it. And so the question rises, what are you trading your time for now? At 60 and beyond, the answer to this question becomes the difference between a life fulfilled and a life wasted. Do not let time slip through your fingers like water while you stand distracted by the noise of trivial things. Do not allow regrets to chain you to yesterday or fears to paralyze you from stepping into tomorrow. Every minute you hold is a tool, a weapon, a seed. Use it to build what matters most. Plant it in the soil of meaning so that it grows into memories worth cherishing, into legacies worth leaving. Understand that time cannot be stored like gold in a vault. You cannot keep it for later, for time demands to be spent. And if you do not spend it with intention, it will spend itself without your permission. On worry, on anger, on meaningless pursuits that drain your joy and leave you empty. Treat time as the finest currency, for it buys everything you will ever have. Health, relationships, knowledge, peace, and purpose. So honor your family by planning your own future, by building strength that does not lean too heavily, by ensuring that love can remain love, pure, joyful, and unclouded by the weight of obligation. Simplicity is strength in a world that worships success. Where people measure success by the weight of their possessions and the noise of their achievements, simplicity stands as a quiet, unshaken pill of power. Simplicity is not weakness, nor is it the absence of ambition. It is clarity, it is wisdom, it is freedom. To live simply is to live without chains, for every extra possession comes with an unseen cost. Every layer of complexity brings a hidden burden, and every unnecessary desire adds weight to a soul that longs to fly. At 60 and beyond, when the seasons of life have taught their lessons, you'll begin to understand that strength is not in having more, but in needing less. It is not in filling your home with things that gather dust, but in filling your heart with peace that cannot be bought. The pursuit of excess is a race with no finish line. It drains your energy, steals your time, and blinds your eyes to the beauty of what you already have. But simplicity opens your hands, lightens your steps, and allows you to walk freely, unburdened by what does not serve your soul. Simplicity is strength because it demands courage. The courage to say no when the world shouts yes. The courage to turn away from the glittering distractions that promise happiness but deliver emptiness. The courage to choose substance over show, depth over display, purpose over possession. It takes strength to walk past the noise of consumerism and find joy in the quiet gifts of life. The sunrise that costs nothing yet paints the sky in gold. The laughter of a friend that no currency can buy. The health that no treasure can replace. To live simply is to take control of what truly matters. It is to free your mind from the clutter of constant wanting, to release your heart from the prison of comparison, to stand firm in the truth that enough is enough. It is to trade chaos for calm, to choose time over trinkets, to prefer meaning over materialism. Simplicity whispers what complexity drowns out. That peace does not come from abundance, but from alignment, when your needs, your values, and your choices move in harmony. And simplicity is not only in what you own, it is in how you think, how you speak, how you live. It is the discipline to clear the noise from your mind, to strip away resentment, regret, and fear, leaving space for gratitude and grace. It is the power to walk lightly through life so that when the years weigh heavy upon your body, your soul still soars because it carries no unnecessary load. It is strength because it is rare, because in a world obsessed with more, simplicity dares to declare that less is enough, that peace is wealth, and that freedom lies not in accumulation, but in the art of letting go. Gratitude is medicine, gratitude is the quiet healer. The unseen remedy that soothes the deepest wounds of the soul. It does not come bottled in glass or prescribed by a physician, yet it has the power to restore joy, to renew peace, to mend the cracks that life's hardships have carved into the heart. Gratitude is medicine because it changes the way you see the world. It shifts your eyes from what is missing to what is present, from what has been lost to what remains, from the bitterness of pain to the sweetness of blessing. At 60, when the years behind you are more than the years ahead, gratitude becomes more than a virtue. It becomes survival for the spirit. For there will be things you cannot do anymore, dreams that will never be fulfilled, loved ones who have gone beyond your reach. If you dwell on these losses, the weight of regret will crush your joy. But when you choose gratitude, when you look at the life that still breathes in your body, the memories that still glow in your heart, the people who still love you, the days that still rise with light, you find strength that no sorrow can steal. Gratitude is medicine because it heals the disease of comparison, the poison of envy that eats away at happiness. When you are thankful, you no longer measure your worth against the abundance of others. You begin to see that your own life, with all its flaws and fractures, is still a masterpiece. You start noticing the small wonders, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the taste of fresh water, the smile of a stranger, the comfort of a familiar voice. And in those moments, gratitude becomes the pulse that keeps your spirit alive. Science may tell us about chemicals and hormones, but the truth of gratitude needs no laboratory to prove its power. It lowers the storms of anxiety, quiets the winds of anger, it calms the waves of fear. It lifts the mind out of darkness and into light, not by changing circumstances, but by transforming the heart within them. Gratitude is a choice, and every time you choose it, you choose healing over hurting, joy over despair, life over emptiness. And gratitude is not passive. It demands attention, awareness, intentionality. It asks you to pause in the rush of life and count the blessings hidden in plain sight. It calls you to say a thank you, not just with your lips, but with your living, with acts of kindness, with patience, with generosity. For gratitude that is spoken but not lived is like medicine left in the bottle. It cannot heal what it has not touched. Gratitude also repairs relationships that bitterness has broken. It softens the heart that pride has hardened. It bridges distances created by anger and heals wounds left by harsh words. A simple thank you can turn resentment into reconciliation, hostility into harmony, silence into song. When gratitude flows freely, life becomes lighter, burdens become bearable, and the soul finds its song again. So practice gratitude as you would take your daily medicine. Write it down, speak it aloud, live it in your choices. Let it become the rhythm of your thoughts, the language of your heart, the lens through which you see the world. For gratitude, when taken in daily doses, can heal what no doctor can touch. It can make the broken whole, the weary strong, and the ordinary radiant. With wonder, legacy matters more than longevity. Life is often measured in years, in the length of days and the count of seasons. But true greatness is never found in the number of candles on a cake. It is found in the impact that burns long after the flame is gone. Longevity may grant you time, but legacy gives you meaning. To live long is a blessing, but to live well is a responsibility. For what value is there in a life stretched wide in years, yet shallow in purpose? What honor is there in surviving decades if nothing of your soul remains when the clock stops ticking? Legacy is the echo of your existence, the imprint you leave on hearts, the light you kindle that continues to shine in the lives of others long after your voice falls silent. It is not built in a single day or with a single deed. It is carved in the choices you make daily. The words you speak, the kindness you show, the principles you uphold when compromise would be easier. It is formed in the lessons you teach, the lives you touch, the seeds you plant that grow into trees of hope for generations you will never meet. When the twilight years arrive and you sit beneath the sky of memory, it will not be the length of your days that brings peace to your soul. It will be the knowledge that those days mattered, that they were invested in something greater than yourself. Legacy is not about monuments of stone or wealth stacked in vaults. It is about love sown into the soil of human hearts, about courage that inspires others to rise, about wisdom that guides paths long after your own feet have ceased to walk. True legacy does not demand fame, for fame fades with time. It does not require fortune, for riches turn to dust. Legacy demands character. The strength to stand when the world tells you to bow, the humility to lift others even when no one is watching, the grace to forgive when bitterness would be easier. It demands intention, the decision to live each day with purpose, to create ripples of good that spread far beyond the reach of your own hands. Legacy is not only in the grand gestures, it is in the quiet moments when you choose integrity over deceit, kindness over cruelty, patience over anger. It is in the stories your children tell, the lessons your friends remember, the inspiration strangers draw from the life you lived. And when you are gone, when time folds its hands over your final chapter, longevity will be forgotten, but legacy will speak. It will speak in the laughter you left behind, in the values you upheld, in the dreams you ignited that others now chase. So do not spend your days merely counting them. Spend them creating something that counts. Let your presence become a gift and your absence a memory that still gives. For in the end, it is not the length of life that echoes through eternity. It is the depth, the purpose, and the light that shines even when the shadow of death has fallen. Legacy is the proof that while time can claim your body, it cannot claim the story you wrote with your life, the seeds you scattered across the fields of humanity. The light you pass like a torch to those who will walk long after your steps have faded into silence. Self-respect is power. There is a strength that no one can give you and no one can take away. A strength that does not come from wealth, position, or praise. It is the strength that rises when you honor yourself, the strength born from knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it for anything or anyone. That strength is self-respect. It is the foundation of dignity, the root of confidence, and the shield that protects your soul from the erosion of compromise. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is not pride that puffs up the chest while the heart remains empty. It is the quiet assurance that your value does not depend on the applause of the crowd or the approval of others. It is the deep understanding that you were not made to be walked upon, used, or diminished for the comfort of those who do not see your light. It is the voice inside that says, I matter, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. When you have self-respect, you set boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect the essence of who you are. You refuse to settle for less than you deserve, not because you think you are better than others, but because you know that to accept less is to betray yourself. And betrayal of the self is the slowest, most painful kind of death, for it kills the spirit before it touches the body. Self-respect gives you the courage to walk away from situations that shrink your soul, relationships that drain your joy, and opportunities that require you to trade your integrity for temporary gain. It whispers in your ear when temptation comes dressed as success and says, what is the profit if the price is your peace? It teaches you that it is better to stand alone in truth than to kneel among those who thrive on falsehood. It is power because it frees you from the chains of dependence on validation, on recognition, on the fleeting approval of others. When you respect yourself, you no longer beg for scraps of acceptance, for you carry your worth within you like a crown that no one can steal. You no longer cling to those who mistreat you, for you understand that walking away is not loss when what you leave behind was never love. Self-respect strengthens your voice when silence would be safe. It makes you stand tall when the world tries to bend you into shapes that do not fit the truth of who you are. It teaches you to say no when everything inside you fears rejection, because you know that a yes against your values is far more dangerous than the loneliness of refusal. And self-respect does not end with you. It becomes a beacon for others. When you carry yourself with dignity, you teach people how to treat you. When you honor yourself, you give silent permission for others to honor themselves as well. You become an example of strength in a world that often confuses worth with wealth and value with vanity. It is power because it anchors you in storms, because it cannot be bought or sold, because it does not fade with age or weaken with time. The years may take your strength, your beauty, your position, but if you have self-respect, you remain unbroken, unshaken, and unbowed, for the greatest throne you will ever sit upon is the throne of your own world. And the greatest crown you will ever wear is the quiet glory of knowing who you are and refusing to let the world make you forget it. Discipline is freedom. At first, the words sound like a paradox, for how can the act of restraint, of rules, of self-control lead to liberty? But those who have walked the road of wisdom know that there is no greater freedom than the freedom born from discipline. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny, the line that separates dreams that live only in the imagination from those that stand tall in the daylight of achievement. Without discipline, the body becomes a slave to its cravings, the mind a prisoner of its impulses, and life a ship without a rudder, drifting wherever the winds of circumstance blow. Discipline is freedom because it gives you mastery over yourself. When you rise early instead of sleeping away the hours, you free yourself from the chains of wasted time. When you choose the pain of effort over the comfort of idleness, you unlock doors that comfort could never open. When you silence the voice that says later and act in the moment, you break free from the tyranny of procrastination that steals futures and buries potential. Discipline is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the steady hammer that shapes raw potential into the sharp edge. It is the daily decision to do what needs to be done, not what feels easy, not what seems pleasant, but what will lead you to the life you desire. And in making that choice again and again, you discover a truth that the undisciplined never know, that structure does not imprison you, it liberates you. It frees you from chaos, from failure, from regret. Look at the athlete whose body moves like poetry in motion. What you see is freedom, but behind that grace lies the grind of discipline. Look at the musician whose fingers dance across the keys. What you hear is beauty, but behind that melody lies countless hours of practice when no one was listening. Look at the leader who commands respect with wisdom and courage. What you admire is confidence, but behind that presence lies years of discipline, learning, sacrifice, and restraint. Discipline is freedom because it puts you in control of your life. Without it, you become a puppet pulled by the strings of temptation, by the whispers of distraction, by the impulses that lead to ruin. Without discipline, wealth slips through your fingers, health fades under the weight of indulgence, relationships crumble under the neglect of inconsistency. But with discipline, you hold the reins. You decide where your energy goes, where your time flows, where your life grows. It is the silent architect of greatness, the unsung hero behind every triumph, the invisible force that keeps the mighty from falling and the humble from being forgotten. Discipline teaches you that every yes must be guarded by 1,000 no's, that freedom without boundaries is not freedom at all. It is chaos in disguise. It teaches you that true power is not in doing what you want when you want, but in having the strength to choose what is right, even when everything in you screams for what is easy. And discipline does not diminish joy, it deepens it. For the one who lives without restraint tastes pleasure briefly and pays for it with pain. But the one who lives with discipline earns a joy that lasts, a joy born not of indulgence, but of accomplishment, not of excess, but of excellence. Discipline may demand sacrifice, but in the end it returns far more than it takes. It gives you the freedom to live with purpose, the freedom to stand tall in a world that bows to impulse, the freedom to build a life that others envy, but few are willing to pay the price. To create purpose keeps you young. Age is not written on the skin, it is written in the soul. The body may grow older, the hair may turn silver, the steps may slow, but the spirit remains ageless when it is anchored in purpose. Purpose is the fire that keeps the heart warm when the years grow cold. It is the melody that plays in your mind long after the noise of the world has faded. Without purpose, life becomes a long and empty road. With purpose, every step, no matter how heavy, feels lighter because it leads somewhere that matters. Purpose is not about grand achievements that shake the earth. It is about having a reason to rise when the sun does, a reason to breathe with meaning instead of drifting through days like a leaf carried by the wind. When you wake each morning with something to live for, the mirror may reflect lines on your face, but it will never reflect defeat in your eyes. For purpose is strength for the weary, hope for the aging, and vitality for the soul that refuses to surrender to the slow decay of aimlessness. Without purpose, time becomes a burden, a heavy chain dragging you toward the end with no light ahead. People who lose purpose lose life before death claims them, for their spirit folds in on itself and their hearts grow silent while their bodies still move. But give a person a purpose, something to teach, something to love, something to fight for, and you will see youth bloom again in their gaze. Their body may ache, but their heart will run faster than ever. Purpose does not come with age, it comes with choice. It is not handed to you. It is discovered in the depths of your soul when you ask, why am I here? What difference will I make before the curtain falls? And when you answer that question and commit to living it, no matter your age, you ignite a force that pushes back against time itself. Purpose makes you wake up early when others sleep in, makes you dream when others settle, makes you stretch beyond comfort when others shrink into complacency. It is purpose that turns the farmer into a poet, the teacher into a sculptor of minds, the parent into a silent hero whose fingerprints remain on generations unborn. It is purpose that keeps the leader standing when storms rage, that keeps the artist painting when the critics mock, that keeps the builder laying bricks even when his hands bleed. Because purpose whispers, this matters, and when something matters, age cannot stop you. It can only shape you into wisdom that shines like gold refined by fire. Purpose is the antidote to despair. It is the medicine for boredom. It is a secret energy that outlasts vitamins and exercise because it feeds not the muscles, but the spirit. A life without purpose is like a lamp without oil. It may have structure, it may even have beauty, but it cannot shine. And when the light goes out, darkness creeps in, and with it comes the weight of years. But fill that lamp with purpose, and it will burn bright even in the twilight of life. Purpose keeps you young because it gives you something the years cannot take. It turns ordinary days into sacred ground, ordinary moments into eternal echoes. It keeps your heart beating not just out of habit, but out of hope. It keeps your eyes searching for what is yet to be done, your hands reaching for what is yet to be created, your soul soaring toward what is yet to be fulfilled. For the one who walks with purpose never truly grows old. They only grow deeper, stronger, and more alive with every passing day, because purpose is life. And where there is life, youth remains eternal. Forgiveness is liberation. There is a prison more suffocating than iron bars, more relentless than chains, and its name is resentment. It binds the heart in bitterness, it shackles the soul in anger, and it steals the peace that no riches can buy. Unforgiveness is a weight that grows heavier with time, bending the spine of the spirit until all that remains is a shadow of what once stood tall. But there is a key that opens the door for those who hurt you, but for you, That key is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is not the timid surrender of one who cannot fight. It is not the denial of pain or the forgetting of wrong or the forgetting of... Forgiveness is strength because it demands more courage to release a wound than to cling to it. It takes more power to set free than to hold captive. It is the bold declaration that while the wound was real, the wound will not rule. It is the choice to unchain your heart, to unclench your fists, and to refuse to let yesterday's fire burn today's peace. When you refuse to forgive, you drink poison expecting the other to fall, yet the bitterness only corrodes your own soul. Unforgiveness whispers lies in your ear, telling you that holding on gives you power, that vengeance will heal the hurt. But vengeance does not heal. It deepens the scar. The anger that promises strength leaves you hollow, for rage is a fire that consumes not its target, but its vessel. It burns away joy, devours peace, and leaves only ashes where love once lived. Forgiveness does not mean the wound was justified. It does not erase accountability or silence justice. It simply means that you will not carry the burden any longer. It means you will not allow someone else's shadow to darken your sunlight. It means you will no longer give the keys to your happiness into the hands of those who tried to break you. You take back your life when you forgive, because forgiveness is freedom, and freedom is the birthright of every soul that chooses to rise above. To forgive is to take the hammer and break the chains of hatred. It is to open the door and walk out of the cell you built with your own anger. It is to lift your face to the sky and breathe without the weight of yesterday pressing on your chest. Forgiveness does not change the past, but it transforms the present and shapes the future. It turns a victim into a victor, not by erasing the story, but by rewriting the ending. Forgiveness is not always swift. Sometimes it is a slow and deliberate choice repeated every day until the heart finally lays down its burden. Sometimes the wound is deep and the echo of the hurt lingers like a storm that refuses to pass. But each act of forgiveness is a stone removed from the wall around your soul, and with every stone taken away, the light shines brighter. Forgiveness is liberation because it breaks the tyranny of pain. It frees you from being chained to the one who wronged. It frees your mind from replaying the scene, your heart from reliving the grief, your soul from the darkness of revenge. It allows you to live again, to love again, to hope again. For a life without forgiveness is a life imprisoned by the past. But a life with forgiveness is a life soaring toward the horizon of peace, where no chain can bind and no bitterness can reign. Because the heart that is truly free joy is a choice. Joy is not an accident. It is not a gift that falls from the sky only when the clouds clear and the sun decides to shine. It is not a prize reserved for the lucky or the privileged. Joy is a decision. a deliberate act of the will to rise above circumstance, to see light in the midst of shadow, to embrace gratitude when life whispers reasons to complain. Happiness may depend on what happens, but joy is deeper, stronger, and untouchable because it is rooted not in what is outside, but in what is within. Life will hand you storms, and some will rage so fiercely that they shake the foundation of everything you hold dear. Friends may fail you, plans may crumble, health may falter, wealth may vanish, and yet in the rubble of what was, joy can still bloom if you choose it. For joy is not the absence of pain, it is the refusal to let pain dictate your peace. It is not the denial of struggle, it is the bold declaration that even in struggle, life is still worth living. Joy begins where gratitude begins, is born when you look at what remains instead of mourning only what was lost. It grows when you learn to find beauty in small things, when you savor the taste of a simple meal, when you cherish the sound of a loved one's voice, when you pause to watch the sunset and remember that some glories come free of cost. Joy does not demand perfection, it dances in imperfection. It does not require abundance, it thrives even in scarcity because it knows that true wealth is not counted in coins, but in moments that make the heart sing. Those who wait for joy to arrive will wait forever, for joy does not walk to the passive. It runs to the intentional. It is the fruit of perspective, the harvest of a mind that chooses to see beyond what is broken and to focus on what is beautiful. Two people can stand in the same storm under the same dark sky, and one will curse the rain while the other sees the promise of new life in every drop. Joy belongs to the one who chooses the second vision. To choose joy is to take back control from the grip of circumstances. It is to declare, I will not let what I cannot control steal the song from my heart. It is to wake up and decide that today will not be wasted in bitterness, that today will not bow to yesterday's sorrows, that today will not surrender to fear of tomorrow. Joy is power, for it gives strength to endure what logic says should break you. It gives courage to smile in a world that expects you to weep. It turns ordinary days into treasures because you choose to see wonder where others see routine. Joy is contagious. When you choose joy, you give others permission to believe it is possible. Your laughter becomes a lantern in someone else's darkness. Your peace becomes a bridge for someone else's chaos. And your resilience becomes the evidence that the human spirit can rise. Even when life tries to push it down, joy is the rebellion against despair. It is the quiet victory over negativity. It is the anthem of the soul that refuses to be conquered by the noise of the world. So understand this, joy is not waiting in the distance, tied to some future achievement or perfect moment. Joy is here now, standing at the door of your heart, knocking, asking if you will let it in despite the brokenness, despite the uncertainty, uncertain the scars you carry. And when you open that door, when you let joy flood in, you discover a truth that changes everything. That joy was never about what life gives you, but about what you choose to see, what you choose to hold, what you choose to become in the face of all that comes against you.